Hello everyone, hopefully for today you are doing great and also healthy. For today's lecture, we are going to talk about sensory and motor mechanism. Sensory and motor mechanism is very important as a part of organism because organism can sense what is really happening and also they can move whenever they go. So mostly our focus now we are going to talk on those two things. So let's begin. Now we're gonna see the type of sensory receptors. Based on the energy transits, there are at least five type of category of energy. The first we know as mechanoreceptors, and then chemoreceptors, and then electromagnetic receptors, thermoreceptors, and penreceptors. So let's see one by one. Mechanoreceptors is receptors that closely related to physical deformation such as pressure, straight, motion, and sound. And in mammal, the sense of touch rely on mechanoreceptor that is mostly dendrites that located in sensory neurons. So how it look like? We can see it from our skin. In the surface of the skin, uh, especially beneath the skin, we will find there are so many sensory receptor that we have. For example, we have sensory for detecting the heat, touch, pain, cold, and all those things is very important for us to be able to sense what is happening with our environment. So that is the type of mechanoreceptors. Now we have chemoreceptors. So based on the name, it's chemo. So it's something with chemistry. So it must be substance, solution, something like that. So in this case, what should we emphasize is about the solid concentration because chemoreceptor is very sensitive to solution. Solution is not only about liquid but also in the phase of gases. So and chemoreceptor, it's very specific because every single chemoreceptor be able to detect only certain type of substance. And when the stimulus bind to the chemoreceptor, and then there will be some change in the surface of the cell, which is it will be less permeable to ion. So for this case, maybe we're gonna talk a little bit more on this in human physiology course, how it's really happening about the stimulus. And one of the example that we can find in chemoreceptor is the antenna of the moth. Moth is a kind of, it looks like a butterfly, but it has a different characteristic. So it's a moth, and let's see the example for now is silkworm moth. It's like this. So the antenna act as chemoreceptor, and it's very sensitive to the change of the concentration of the air, so they can sense what is happening by using their own antenna. Now we have electromagnetic receptors. Electromagnetic receptors we can see from many different animals such as snake, and then whales, and then dolphins. So how it look like? It's actually the type of energy that can be accepted in the term of electromagnetic energy such as light, electricity, magnetism, and also photoreceptor. Photoreceptor, it's a form of light. And like I told you before, some snake have a very sensitive infrared receptor that be able to detect the body heat. Yes, like I told you before, snake has a unique part on its head, so it has seems like a sensor that be able to detect the infrared. So how they hunt the prey by using this type of mechanism. So they use these organs for them to detect the prey. And then in some mammals, for example, big whales, they be able to detect the Earth magnetic field by sensing it in some part of the body, so they can move when they do the migration. They can move without any problem, and they can find the destination that they want. So let's see. Yes, this is the example uh, of infrared receptor. It's located near the mouth of the snake, and then in beluga whales they have magnetic fields in the body, in their body. So yeah, because they like to do migration, seasonal migration, to find a better place for them to get a food. That's why they use magnetic earth field for them to move. And by having this type of uh, receptor, they can find a way easily without getting lost in the ocean. Okay, now we have thermoreceptors and penreceptors. It's actually closely related to what I showed you before in the skin. So our skin has receptors, and these receptors mostly in the form of dendrites, and the dendrite is located under the epidermis. And how it looks like, let's see the picture. So this one is the example of the thermoreceptor. So we can find here there is cold here, there is heat here, almost similar with the previous one. And mechanoreceptor also is not only for touch, but it's also for hearing and equilibrium. So hearing is very important for the organism to know what information that they know in related to sound. And then equilibrium is very important for them to know the position of the body. Okay, so this type of mechanoreceptor in human, and also for equilibrium, for us to know the position of our body, we know it in our ear. Okay, so for the detail how our ear works, again, it will be discussed in human physiology course. But now let's see in general. In general, ear has consists of three parts, which is outer ear, middle ear, and inner ear. So in the outer, we will have the pinna, or the ear itself, and then we have also ear canals, and that is the outer ear. And then for the middle ear, we have tympanum or eardrum, and then we have uh, three type of bone, which is very important for our listening, which is the malleus incus, and also steps or hammer and feel, and also stirrups. Okay, and not only for hearing, we have also this organ of balance. So in this organ, we can sense our position. So we will know our position based on the gravity, because we have this part in our ear. So ear is very important again for us, not only for listening but also for equilibrium, for knowing our position. And maybe you can find in the example of what should I say, like mixed martial art competition. It is not allowed for you to strike directly into the ear, because it's so dangerous. Okay, so like I told you before, ear is so important in sensing the equilibrium, to know our place. In some invertebrate, they have slightly different organ. So what they have is statosis. Statosis, it's almost similar, but yeah, because we are human, they are invertebrate. The structure it's different, even though the function is almost similar. So again, the organ that they have is statosis, and statosis inside they have statolith. Statolith is like a little stone, little granules that is very useful for uh, sensing the gravity. This is the structure. So this big picture is the statocyte, and inside the statocyte there are so many cilia, and inside the cilia there is some liquid here, and this is the statolith. So statolith is attracted because it's a stone or it's granule, so it's influenced by the gravity. So the position of this statosis and also statolith, especially statolith here, is so influenced by the gravity. So when this animal move, they know how the body move, and especially they know about their position. And in terms of animals, we need to think differently uh, in terms of how they be able to listen to something. Most likely, we will think that, for example, these crickets, they have ear, but actually they don't. So they have sort of special organ in their body, which is we call it as tympanic membranes, that is located in their leg. So in their leg, like this, they have hair, and also they have tympanic membrane. So the vibration to the hair here will be sensed by tympanic organ, so they can listen to what is really happening there. So because they don't have ear here, that's why they have ear in the leg. Yeah, again, we need to think a bit differently in terms of seeing how animals sense the world. It's so likely because it's slightly different with us. Now we will see in fish. Fish also has a very unique structure in terms of sensing the environment. So what they have is, we call it as lateral lines, and this lateral line we can find it along on the both side of the fish body. And how it's look like, it's like this. So this is one. So this is the lateral line. So maybe when you have a fish and then when you clean it, you will find some line on the surface of the body. So this surface is so important for them to sense the environment, especially for the water. Simply say, it's like the ear for them. So the lateral line, it seems like the ear for the fish. But not only lateral line, they have also ear. Yes, fish literally have ear, but the structure is slightly different with us. The ear of the fish is located inside the head, and its inner ear, we call it, and it's look like this. So near the brain there is a structure inner ear like this. So even though from the outside we cannot see that fish has an ear, but inside they have actually a structure that's similar to ear, which is, we call it as inner ear. Okay, so that is the fish with the ear and lateral line. Now for the sense of taste and smell, most animals, even human, we can sense two things. The first is gustation. Gustation is about taste, and then olfaction, it's about smell. They work in a very harmonic ways. When we eat something, if we have some problem with our olfaction or smell, so the food will not really nice. So even though the food is nice, if we don't have our smell, the food will not nice, because the taste and how the food becomes so delicious is because of the interaction between those two. So our tongue and our nose working together to work. That's why we be able to enjoy the food nicely. And in mammal, our tongues has taste bud, and taste bud can sense the four major tastes, which is sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Umami, yeah, it's like generasi micin like now. So that's actually the taste. That's why some product they make something like MSG to enhance the umami taste in the tongue. Okay, and then smell. So smell is in the nose in the case of human, and it's very sensitive to the molecule in the air, and it's look like this. So if there is an odorance in the air, it could be perfume, it could be anything which is consists of some substance. It will be sensed by the things called this one, chemoreceptor, and then this is the substance it will be sent here. There is an interaction, and then the information will be sent to the olfactory bulb, and in our brain it will be processes, so we will know what smell is that. And another sense we have vision, and vision also has many different type, different on the organism. The simple organism, for example, the platform, they have only simple sense organ to sense the light, which is we call it as eye cup or eye spot. So this is what they have, only a simple organs to sense the light. So we can say them as eye cup or eye spot. In a more complex animals, especially in the invertebrate group, they have two type of eyes, which is the compound eyes, and also single eyes. So single eyes, we can find it in the animal outside the crustacean and insect, but in insect we can find the compound eyes. So compound eyes we can find it in insect and crustacean. So out of them they have only one lens eye. And compound eyes, they made from like detectors that we call as ommatidia. This type of this is the example of compound eyes that we can found in flies, and fly has compound eyes. You know that when we want to catch the fly, it's so difficult, right? Yes, why? Because the compound eye is very sensitive to movement, so it's very good organs for them to be able to detect the movement. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the second part of this topic. We're gonna talk about the locomotion or the movement of animal. There are three basic type of skeletal system in the animal. They are hydrostatic skeleton, and then exoskeleton, and the last is endoskeletons. So hydrostatic skeleton simply say they lack of hard part, so they don't have bone literally. And exoskeleton, the hard part is in the outside of the body, and endoskeleton, the hard part is inside the body. Like us, we are human, we have endoskeleton, but the insect, grasshopper, they have exoskeleton. And then hydrostatic skeleton, we can find it in the soft animal, for example, like the earthworm and leech. Yeah, they are hydrostatic skeleton. So now let's see hydrostatic skeleton. So How they work is actually almost similar with our esophagus. So it's moved with a hydrostatic movement. And how is that hydrostatic movement working with the mechanism of peristaltic? Peristaltic seems like our esophagus. So how is that? It's like moving like a wave. So making wave from one direction into another direction. So this is the movement of hydrostatic skeleton that we can find in soft body animal like this one, earthworm. Exoskeletons, we can find it mostly in arthropod like insect, spider, myriapod like that. So mostly outside the body, and we can also find it in some mollusks. Some mollusks, they have a cell, right? So cells is a type of exoskeletons, and this type of exoskeletons, they made from polysaccharide chitin. So that's the major component to make the exoskeleton. Now we talk for the things that we have, which is endoskeleton. So endoskeleton is, yeah, simply say it's our bone, something inside our body. And not only in humans, some endoskeleton also can be found in some other animal. For example, in sponges, they have also endoskeleton, but it's just a little structure, not really that complicated as us. Echinoderm, yes, they have, but again, not really as complicated as us. But chordates, like us, we have a very complex endoskeleton, and the number of endoskeleton, for example, in mammal, mostly they have more than 200 bones, and the bones connect one another through a joint, and the joint that connect one another by the ligament. So there will be a pre-movements uh, that we have when we have a joint and also ligaments. This is what we have with our bone. Yes, there are so many bone in our body, in our head. Yeah, our entire body consists of many bones. Right, so for the name, yeah, not really essential for now to remember, but if you want, you can remember it all the name. Now let's see closely to the structure of the bone. Actually, we are not talking all of the bone type, but we will see only the long bone like this. Why? Because long bone is a good example as a representative for explaining how the bone look like. So let's see from the major structure. The major structure of the bone consists of two parts. The edge here, we call it as epiphysis. So there are two epiphyses. So proximal and distal, it's about like location. So if it's closer to the body, we call it as proximal, mean close, and then it's distant from the body, so we call it as distal, means quite far. And in between the epiphysis, we have diaphysis in the middle, and then if we cut it, we'll have some structure like this. From the surface, we will have cartilage, which is articular cartilage on the surface, and then in the surface also we have periosteum, which is like a wrap of the only tiny sheet of layer that is periosteum. And then from there we move inside, we will have the uh, spongy bone around here, and spongy bone is the location for the blood production. The blood is made here. Going down, we will have a compact bone. So in this part it's quite hard, so it's very compact. And then we will have inside, which is medullary canal, so it is the room for the yellow bone marrow. So yeah, yellow bone marrow is actually a pad, so it's pad. The major component of it is pad. Okay, so that's from the structure. If we closely again, if we some cut from this, there will be structure like this. So like I told you before, the outer is cartilage, followed by compact bone, and in the center we will have spongy bone. So the order will be cartilage, compact bone, and spongy bone. Now we'll see in the inside, in the medullary cavity, it's actually there is another sheet again to protect the layer here, and the name is endosteum. Endosteum similar to almost similar to periosteum, but located in the center, right? So that's about the bone structure. Now we have muscle. So let's begin with this part. So this is our bone and the humerus bone in our hand. And the first thing you need to remember, if the connection between bone to bone, we call it as ligament. The connection between bone to muscle, we call it as tendon. Okay, tendon. And then this is the bulk of the muscle. So the bulk of the muscle wrapped by a layer called fascia, and inside the fascia there will be the muscle that we know. So in this muscle there are actually another bundles the that wrap the muscle. The first that wrap the muscle, the outermost, is the epimysium. And if we see close differ again, every epimysium wrap what we call as perimysium. So epimysium is here and is here, perimysium is here. Okay, this one is perimysium, and the deepest we call it as endomysium. So endomysium wrap one single cell here. This is endomysium, right? Now if we see the endomysium closely and then we enlarge them again, we will find a structure like this, and this structure we call it as fascicle or muscle fiber. And this fascicle consists of many muscle cell. So this one is individual muscle cell. If we enlarge this again, this individual muscle cell, so we will find it has a nucleus, right? It's because it has a cell, so it has a nucleus, and then it has ER or reticulum endoplasmic, and then we have also sarcolemma. Sarcolemma is the cell membrane of the muscle, and inside the cell you will find many muscle fiber, and this muscle fiber consists of two types of muscle fiber, which we call as myofibril. This myofibril consists of two types of filaments, the thick and the thin filaments, the thick one and the thin one. Okay, so together they become what we call as myofibril. So that's all the structure of muscle that we have in our body. Not only that, because muscle need nutrients to work well, right? So because its cell, so it's nutrition. To get the nutrients in the muscle, there will be blood vessel here. So you can see the two color here, right? The red is artery and then the blue is vein. So the nutrients will be transferred by blood vessel on that area. And then because the muscle need to be able to sense something, and also be able to respond for the instruction that's sent to the muscle. So the muscle has also neuron. So there are neuron around here, right? Okay, so I guess that's all enough for the material for this topic. Hopefully you can follow my explanation, and hopefully also my explanation will help you for your learning. So for your deeper understanding, you can also add some more reference like reading the book. The Campbell book is so excellent for your reading. And then if you want, you can also add some other resources like go online and find another information regarding to this topic. All right. So again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.